And this is my next project here. This is a Troy Bilt Super Bronco Rear-Tine tiller that belongs to my neighbor. He could not get it to start. We're going to see if we can bring it back to life for him. This is a nice machine. He bought this new. It's not very old. It's got one of the newer overhead valve engines in it. It's not a Briggs & Stratton, it's not a Honda. It's got reverse on it as well. This will activate the tines, pulling this up. Some of the operating instructions here. Saw some evidence of mice that it got into the air filter area. I'll show that and see if they may have clogged up this carburetor somehow. Really nice machine. This will be fun to work on. Let me show you a little bit more about this Troy Bilt. And this is the model and serial number of this Super Bronco tiller. Here's just a look at the tines here. They're in really good shape. Got a bar there to hold it while it digs. It's one of the best type tillers ever made. Here are the Rear-Tine ones. And right now these wheels are set to be free. To lock it for self-propelled, you have to pull this pin out and put it in one of the slots in there, and that'll make it self-propelled. Same for the other side. And this Troy Bilt has a gearbox. It is not chain driven. See the shaft underneath? Just a really well-made machine. And this is a 208cc overhead valve engine here. Doesn't really show the horsepower rating. Here's some more information on the side of this engine. Some more numbers on this engine here. And it looks like it is full of gas, and it doesn't smell bad. And let's just check the oil in there. Yeah, it looks like it's full. And I saw some evidence mice had gotten in here, just taking this air filter off yesterday. They can get through the side on here, but they didn't get into the air filter itself. You can see some evidence on top, a little bit there, but they didn't get into the carburetor. But you can see where they actually look like they may have chewed on this foam. Maybe they didn't like how it tasted as they were trying to make a new home. Overhead valve engine. It has a carburetor similar to what a Kohler and or a Honda has. We're going to try to see if we can get this to start without taking this carburetor apart. First, let me just show you what it's not doing here, which is not starting. This is the stop or start throttle, and here is our choke here. We're going to put this on choke. First, we're going to try to start this without carburetor cleaner. And here's our rope here. Here we go. Yep, we got nothing here. In fact, I smell evidence of old gas. So let's put some carburetor cleaner in here and see if we can make an attempt to get this to start. And I took the spark plug out. It's definitely firing. There's nothing wrong with the spark plug. So we know we got spark in the spark plug, got some carburetor cleaner in here. Let's give it a try here. There we go, took a few times. So this Troy Bilt Super Bronco tiller did attempt to start, but it won't keep running, so we definitely got a carburetor fuel related problem. We checked the spark. Spark is good on the spark plug. I'm just going to go ahead and take this carburetor apart and clean it. It's really easy to take apart. Take off here, looks like two 10mm bolts. We'll get the air filter cover off, and looks like this carburetor, after I get the linkage, will slide right off. So let's get started. And we also have two Phillip head screws that will need to come out as well. There's one here and one there. And taking this air filter cover off. And once you get the top of that cover off, there's another 10mm bolt that'll have to come out as well. And I'm also going to need to disconnect this breather tube here to get this air filter cover off. Now we can take out these two 10mm bolts here, and this air filter cover should come off. It wasn't very tight. And now this air filter cover should come off. There we go. Air filter cover's off. Now we can get access to the carburetor. The carburetor is now loose. For it to slide off, I need to disconnect the fuel line, which is over here, and have to disconnect. There's the linkage on the top as well, and this carburetor will be ready to come off. For the linkage here, you just need to move this as far to the right as you can, and this linkage should lift right out, which it did. Now we'll pull this tension spring off. And we got the spring removed. So now we just need to get the fuel line off to get this carburetor off. And now the carburetor is free. The hardest part was getting this fuel line off. And we're going to slide this off. Got the linkage off and the fuel line off. And there is our Troy Bilt Super Bronco carburetor here. Going to leave this heat shield on here. I think that's what that is in the back. Let's get this cleaned up and let's get the bowl off and see what's plugging this carburetor up. And here is our Troy Bilt carburetor. We're going to go ahead and take the bowl off, and we're going to clean this up really well and see what we can find plugging this up. And that was on pretty tight. And we're leaking very yucky gas here. Can get this bowl off here. Okay, good. And we see trash everywhere. Yeah, look at this. Definitely have found the problem with this Troy Bilt. So let's get this all cleaned up. This bowl is filthy inside. Let's see if this float is stuck here. It doesn't look like it is. Just very dirty. So let's clean this up really well and get the float and pin out here. Yeah, I see some trash in there. Very dirty. Let's give it a good clean in here with some carburetor cleaner and get this nozzle out in the middle as well. And now we're just getting the nozzle out of here. And this jet here is totally clogged. Can't see any daylight in it whatsoever. So we're going to have to clean that out. More than likely that is the problem with this Troy Bilt. Also got this nozzle out that is behind this. Going to clean that out as well. So this jet is now clean on this carburetor. I've cleaned everything on this carburetor. It's just really stained from having gas sit in it for a long time. This nozzle, I ran a fine piece of wire through all these little holes and passages, so that's now clean. We're ready to reassemble it. And we'll start by just dropping this nozzle in. And now we're putting the jet back in. And now we'll put the float and the needle back in. And now we'll put the float pin in. And now we'll put the bowl back on. And this carburetor is ready to be put back on this Super Bronco Troy Bilt tiller. And I drained some of this gas out of this tank. I don't see any trash. It's just old gas, but it's still good. And we're just going to put this carburetor back on and get the fuel line back on first. And now we just need to reinstall this linkage. Clips in, and now to reinstall this wire back on here. And the linkage and the tension wire is back on. There was also some cabling here that needed to be put back in place as well for the spark plug cord. Now we're ready to put the air filter cover back on. And the air filter cover's back on. Now I need to put the top of the air filter cover on. And the carburetor's back on the Troy Bilt Super Bronco now, and got the gas on. Don't see anything leaking. Cleaned out all the mice droppings that was in that air filter cover, and we're ready to give this a start. Let's put the choke on here, give it a little bit of throttle, and let's see what happens here. Here we go. Alright, it's running. Look at that. Here. Sit here and run a bit. And this Troy Bilt Super Bronco is running much better now. Still burning that old gas in the tank. And takes the throttle really well. I believe we got this fixed. The neighbor will be really happy. So I'll give this a good cleaning and do a follow-up video. Give it its last start. Running great.